Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another podcast. It's yours truly, Culture Shock. We are here to discuss the Week 14 matchup between the Indianapolis Colts heading down to Duval County to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. This game should be an interesting one, being as though both teams are fighting for the division to clinch it. As the season is coming down to an end, both teams got to lock in. The Colts are on the losing side of football right now and can't seem to find their way. And what better way to do that than test it against one of the teams they can barely ever beat, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars has always beaten the Colts in Jacksonville when they're at home for over a decade. It's been so long since the Colts have won down there. You can't even remember. It feels like a lifetime. It might have been a lifetime for most people, but more than so. The further we go into it, I'd like to appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on Apple, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Even check out the website, which is thebluestable.com, where we drop articles pregame and postgame. But let's go ahead and back into the preview. So we're here to discuss the game. Week 14, both teams are 8-4. Last week, the Jacksonville Jaguars pretty much dog walked the Tennessee Titans. Trevor Lawrence had a pretty decent game, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, linking up with Jacoby Myers for one time for a touchdown there. The run game didn't really work for them, but the pass game was pretty decent. The Tennessee Titans, no matter what you say, their defense can still give you fits, but they pretty much walked away with that one in Tennessee, which was expected because the Tennessee Titans is not playing a pretty good game of football. But like I said, 200 yards passing. They were pretty bad on third downs, which was like 3 for 13. They had 20 first downs, but they were 3 for 13 there. They only allowed 3 sacks. They punted the ball 7 times. They got a lot of penalties that game, but they held on to the ball, which was good. No fumbles or interceptions. The Tennessee Titans, can't speak so much on them. But and they were 100% from the red zone. So that's something you look at to take into next week, especially going up against a Colts team who's pretty much battle tested with injuries. No Sauce Gardner, no DeForest Buckner. All of those things play a huge part going into this game against Jacksonville, in which you will look at their defense as being one of their staples as usual. But as of last week, as you guys may know, the Colts lost to the Texans, 20-16. The Texans are still fighting for the division as well. They're 7-5, as the Colts are 8-4. So all of these 3 teams are looking to try to claim the division. It's up for grabs. Any team can get it at this point. Very competitive division. It didn't look that far at the beginning because the Colts was running away with it, but they started losing games, and then both teams started winning. So all 3 teams have a chance to win the division. It's a arms race pretty much for all 3 teams. But as of last week with the Colts, they weren't good on third down either, 3 for 10. And then they were 0 for 2 on fourth down, which wasn't good. They only allowed 1 sack, but punted the ball 4 times and only had 5 penalties. Other than that, no fumbles or interceptions. But their defense, they couldn't figure it out. They was 2 for 4 for a field goal. Well, they were 1 for 1 for field goals. They missed the extra point, wound up getting rid of the kicker and signing a new one over this week. And they were 2 for 4 in the red zone. So pretty much play with your food at that point. And the Texans wound up walking away with the dub. The defense was out in the field for too long. The offense can never figure it out. As you guys knew that already, the Texans pretty much dominated the game time of possession for almost 40 minutes. And the Colts almost had 25 minutes. So the Texans pretty much controlled the game the whole time. It looked like the Colts was finding a groove pretty much second quarter to third. But, they can never really get in the end zone to score touchdowns. Pretty much a stalemate with the offense and how they were executing. They forgot Jonathan Taylor was in the backfield. But like I said, they struggled last week against the Texans. Hopefully they can find their groove this week against the Jaguars, which we doubt just due to the history in Jacksonville going up against this team. But like I said, both teams are 8-4, battling for the division lead. The Jaguars look to control the division and the momentum down the stretch. And the Colts are trying to get back on the winning side of things and try to get the division back. You know, Trevor Lawrence is going to try to air it out with this new target and Jacoby Myers, his top weapon, I would say, you know, besides Bryant Thomas. But he's looking to try to find Jacoby Myers this week. But said the Colts offensive line has been pretty rough as of late. Going up against this defensive line for Jacksonville is definitely going to be a question at hand. Daniel Jones still battling that injury with the fibula. That's something to look at as well. Even though he practiced all week, there's going to be something to think about. You know, especially when the situation on the defensive side with no Buckner and Sauce Gardner. You still got Mooney Ward out there, but he hasn't been playing the best of football. You know, he's trying to lock in mentally and get back in the game, so that can take a while. Hopefully he can figure it out this week. We're definitely going to need him. But like I said, with home field advantage and momentum and a little healthier side of things, I think the Jaguars do have the advantage to try to get this game and take the division. You know, to control the pace, they got the game. If they can play their football style of football and put pressure on Daniel Jones, you know, the Jaguars could easily just walk away with this. Especially when you look at the defensive side of things with the Colts defense being on the field longer because of the offense not being able to execute or make a clean offense. It looks very lopsided on offensive things when you look at the Colts. More passing than running the football, especially when you know your quarterback's pretty much banged up with injuries. You would think that Jonathan Taylor would take a few snaps or you'll have more run schemes and designs to try to open it up for Jonathan Taylor to pretty much take the workload, but that just hasn't been the case. So play calling has been an issue as of late. Hopefully they are aware of that situation and try to lock in and get it figured out going into this week, which is a huge week. Definitely need the dub going against Jacksonville and in Jacksonville. What better way to break the curse than to win? Like I said, anything's possible. Definitely can do it. This was at one point the highest scoring offense in the league, one of the best, the cleanest or most efficient offenses in the league when you look at the Colts. But like I said, as of late, it looked like they just got out of sync and just can't figure it out. So hopefully they can try to do that this week. It's going to be a huge test going into this week. So hopefully they can figure it out. And like I said, either team that wins this could definitely shift the playoff race and positioning. They'll look like they are playing each other in the playoff as of right now. And as any Colts fan will say, they probably would not want that. So the Colts got to figure it out. It got to be the go-to guy. Got to feed Jonathan Taylor the ball. Regardless of the situation, you know your quarterback is banged up. Jonathan Taylor leads the league in rushing yards, so he should be on the top of your list of game planning. Even though the Jaguars might have a thing or two for him, he still can find ways to create lanes and get open. This run game has been pretty good all year so far. But like I said, you can't go away from it. You got to find a perfect balance between Daniel Jones and the run game, just to try to get back to what you were doing at the beginning of the year. So, like I said, this is going to be their test for them, the ultimate test. So it should be an interesting game. It's a lot at stake here. It's going to have a playoff atmosphere on it for sure. And the Colts got to go out there and play good football, play clean, take control of the ball. Hopefully our kicker can make kicks this week, but try not to rely on the kicker. I think that'll be the identity. Try not to rely on the kicker, but try to, get in the end zone and actually score when you get there. The guys leaning on offense players I'm looking for this week, of course, is Jonathan Taylor. Looking for him to try to figure out, his lanes and get back in the groove. Hopefully Shane Steichen can be the guy to turn this offense back around. Colts fans got him under investigation, especially after these last few weeks. There's a few Colts fans that said he should give up play calling. So that's something to look at. Jonathan Taylor, like I said, should be the guy on my list. Other than that, Alec Pierce is another guy I'm looking for this week to have a good week. Both of those guys I feel like can definitely take over a game at any moment. And Alec Pierce is super reliable when it comes to certain situation. When it comes to situational football, you just throw it up there, he's going to go get it. And he can draw a flag at any moment. So Alec Pierce and Jonathan Taylor is the two guys I'm looking for on the offensive side to try to take over things. For the defensive side, I'm going to look at Latu. Latu is the guy I need for sure to definitely light a spark plug in this defense. Try to get home on Trevor Lawrence for sure as well. He's going to have a huge test with this offensive line for Jacksonville, but he's going to be a guy I'm looking for this week to try to create pressure and make some plays on the defensive side. And other than that, Kenny Moore is another guy I'm looking for this week to try to make some plays. You know what? Scratch that. I'm going to make 3 players. Latu, Kenny Moore, and another guy, Nick Cross. I'm looking for Nick Cross to have a big week against Jacksonville. The defense got to be on all cylinders this week. Lou Anarumo going up against Jacksonville. This should be an interesting test for him. I'm pretty sure he's going to make some dynamic ideas, but the players got to go out there and execute. So Nick Cross, Kenny Moore, Liatu Latu, and then on offense, we got Alec Pierce and Jonathan Taylor being those guys. Colts, I got them winning this game. It's going to be a test, but I think the curse can be broken this week. I still have faith in this team. It's not the end of the world yet. So we're going to see what they do in Jacksonville. Hopefully they can come out with a dub. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section. We'll probably be live with this game. Probably not, but you guys stay tuned in. We'll have a post-game reaction about it as well. This is Culture Shock, and until next time, you guys stay safe. Have a good weekend, and have a good one.